The end of Kobe Bryant's career has always been very weird to me. After almost 2 decades of him being one of the best players in the league while playing through a plethora of injuries, his body completely broke down and he couldn't stay on the court at all. Most people remember him tearing his Achilles in 2013, and then his final game where he dropped 60 in 2016, but there was actually a ton that went down in between those 2 major moments. If you were around during this time, you'll remember that it was some of the worst Laker basketball in franchise history. Today, I'll be going over everything that happened not only with Kobe, but the Lakers as a whole during the final 3 years of his career to see how bad this period really was for the franchise. So the descent to mediocrity started on April 12, 2013, where Kobe infamously tore his Achilles. Once that happened, just about everyone knew it was clipped for the Lakers. They quickly got swept by the Spurs in the first round, and it opened up a ton of questions for LA. With the disappointing season as well as Kobe's injury, they seemed to be at a crossroads heading into the offseason. They made the trade for Dwight Howard with the assumption that he would be the franchise cornerstone for the foreseeable future. But due to the disaster that was the 2013 season, Dwight ended up signing with the Houston Rockets in free agency, which really threw a wrench in LA's long-term plans. From this point, pretty much all hope was lost on the Lakers being competitive in 2014. GM Mitch Kupchak filled the roster with guys like Jordan Farmar, Chris Kaman, Wesley Johnson, and Nick Young on short-term contracts to make sure that they'd be in position to potentially land a marquee free agent the following summer. Heading into the season, there was a naive sense of hope that if Steve Nash could get healthy and if Pau Gasol bounced back after a disappointing season, they could keep the team afloat until Kobe's eventual return, which would lead to them sneaking into the playoffs. And as long as they show that they can compete when healthy, the team was hoping that'd be enough to entice potential 2014 free agents like LeBron, Melo, or Bosh to join them and help get Kobe one more ring before he calls it quits. Kobe was fully on board with this plan, as he signed a 2-year, $48.5 million extension in November. This indicated that Kobe not only wanted to continue playing for multiple seasons after this one, but it also gave LA enough cap space to sign a max contract in the upcoming offseason. However, like 2013, the 2014 season didn't go quite as planned. Just a few weeks in, Nash was sidelined with a nerve issue in his back and missed almost 3 months. And when the Lakers really needed to lean on Gasol with the 2 stars out, it was announced that Pau was playing through a strained foot, which led to a dip in production from him as well. Despite the rocky start health-wise, the Lakers somehow started their season 10-9 and had a pleasant surprise coming their way. And that was the return of Kobe Bryant, who shattered expectations and returned just 8 months after his Achilles tear. The Mamba returned on December 8th and had a modest 9 points on 2 of 9 shooting and a loss to the Raptors. As expected, things looked pretty rough for him given his age and the amount of time he missed. But before he could even get into rhythm, he went down with another injury. In just his 6th game back, Kobe fractured his knee and was projected to miss 6 weeks. However, he couldn't recover quite like he used to and suffered multiple setbacks during his rehab process. Then on March 12th, it was announced that the Lakers were going to shut down Kobe for the rest of the season. This made sense as the team went 12-33 during the time he missed and were in dead last in the Western Conference. With 6 total games played and averages of 13.8 points, 6.3 assists, and 4.3 rebounds, this was an absolute disaster season for both Kobe and the Lakers. Not only did the team have its worst regular season record since 1975, but another lower body injury to Bryant was the last thing the team needed when trying to recruit a running mate for him and get his team back into contention. Heading into the offseason, this team needed a total overhaul if they wanted to be competitive in what surely was going to be Kobe's final years. With pretty much no real bright spots in the 2014 season, along with an aging star who is now injury prone, it was going to take a lot for this team to climb back into contention. They started out on the right foot though, as they drafted Julius Randle with the 7th overall pick, but that was about as good as it got. Remember when I mentioned LeBron and Melo were both free agents this summer? Well, the Lakers struck out on both of them, and this wasn't very surprising considering the team didn't really have much to offer besides a max contract. Not only did they lose out on these 2 superstars, but they also lost Pau Gasol to the Bulls in free agency. So not only did they fail to land any marquee free agent, they also lost Kobe's running mate. In just about any other situation, a team's front office would look at this roster, see that they absolutely had nothing going for them, and immediately hit the rebuild button. But LA just signed Kobe to that extension in the prior November, and you know he didn't have any plans to spend his final years playing for a rebuilding team. So they went out and did what they could, brought in Jeremy Lin and Carlos Boozer, and largely decided to run it back from the previous season. On opening night, they rolled out a starting lineup of Jeremy Lin, Kobe Bryant, Wesley Johnson, Carlos Boozer, and Jordan Hill. As you might expect, they got absolutely blown out by the Rockets. And during that blowout, rookie Julius Randle ended up breaking his leg during his debut. As if things didn't already look bleak for LA, their one exciting prospect going down in game 1 of 82 immediately took all hope out of this season. And unlike 2014, there was no surprising start as they began the year 1-9 and just continued to suck as the season progressed. What was also apparent the further we got into the season was that Father Time clearly finally caught up to Kobe. While he was still putting up a respectable amount of points, his efficiency was at an all-time low. And just going by the eye test, it was just clear he didn't have the same burst compared to a few years prior. It was most apparent during crunch time, where he missed 12 straight shots to win or tie the game during this season. This used to be what made Kobe great, and seeing him routinely come up short in this area of the game showed that he no longer had the legs to deliver during big moments. But it wasn't all bad. Well, in terms of losses it was. But we did get to see a really cool moment when Kobe passed Michael Jordan to become third all-time in points on December 14th. So that was cool. This was a nice and happy moment, but just a few days before, we got to see what was really going on underneath the hood of this Lakers team. On December 11th, LA sat at a measly 6-16, as it was clear they were one of the worst teams in the entire league. For the first time that month, Kobe decided to attend and participate in team practice. As an aging veteran nursing injuries, we'll never know exactly why he went to practice that day, but we certainly knew how Kobe felt by the end of it. And after clearly being frustrated with the roster given to him, he decided to air out his grievances and went on a tirade, most notably saying that the team was soft like Charmin. This was right before he told GM Mitch Kupchak that the players he was practicing with were doing nothing to get him better. While I'm sure that there have been much worse things said by Kobe at team practices over the years, the fact that this was on camera definitely showed how he really felt about the current state of LA. While his team did go on to win a few games in a row after this outburst, any hope was short-lived as they quickly regressed back to their mean of being a horrible team. As the season progressed into January, the Lakers were really struggling. Kobe included, as he was shooting just 34% from the field over his last 10 games. And then in a matchup against the Pelicans, he ended up tearing his rotator cuff while going up for a dunk in the third quarter. Despite clearly being hurt and pretty much only having one arm, Kobe still tried to finish the game and played exclusively with his left hand. It resulted in some awesome lefty fadeaways, but it unfortunately didn't lead to a Lakers win. And once it was revealed that the torn rotator cuff would require surgery, Kobe was once again shut down for the rest of the season. This then resulted in maybe one of the most unwatchable NBA teams I've ever seen. Without Kobe, there was literally no redeeming qualities in watching the 2015 Lakers play. Aside from a rookie Jordan Clarkson who was okay, they didn't have any star young talent whatsoever since Julius Randle was out, had no real athleticism on the roster, or actual NBA level talent as a matter of fact. The team went 9-33 the rest of the way in what was an absolute disaster of a season. And I'm honestly surprised they picked up that many wins during this time, because it truly felt like this team was getting blown out by 20 plus points every single night. As LA headed into the offseason, it was clear that this team made no progress in righting the ship, and that they failed to solve any of the problems that hindered them the season prior. They needed help at pretty much every single position. The big question was, what were they going to do to address these holes? Their offseason moves began with taking D'Angelo Russell with the second overall pick in the 2015 draft. Many believed that the team was going to take Jahlil Okafor to be their center of the future, but Kupchak decided to go with another guard to pair alongside Jordan Clarkson. Another reason they did this was because the team felt that they could get one of the many quality free agent big men on the market. With Kevin Love, DeAndre Jordan, LaMarcus Aldridge, and Marc Gasol all available, they were hoping that the allure of playing for the purple and gold would be enough to convince them to sign. The team quickly found out that relying on their brand name no longer works, as all of them decided to sign elsewhere. This was especially apparent when it was announced that Roy Hibbert was going to be the consolation big man that the Lakers landed. While he was absolutely dominant just a year and a half prior, Hibbert's production fell off a cliff midway through 2014 and was no longer the dominant rim protector that he used to be. The team did land one semi-marquee free agent though, as they signed Lou Williams to a 3-year deal. Lou Will was coming off a then career year in Toronto, taking home 6th man of the year in 2015. So this was one of the first competent new pieces coming into the franchise in quite some time. His signing did mean that there would be a slight logjam at the guard position with D'Lo, Kobe, Clarkson, and Nick Young, but given Bryant's injury history the previous 3 seasons, the Lou Williams signing made a ton of sense for LA. Aside from those two, the only other notable signings were Brandon Bass and Ron Artest, who were on team-friendly deals to serve as mentors to Russell and of course Julius Randle, who was coming back at full strength after missing all of 2015 with a broken leg. With Randle back, Clarkson's emergence, and the arrival of D'Lo, the Lakers suddenly had a nice young core for them to work with and develop. develop. For the first time in what felt like forever, it was clear that the team was now in rebuild mode, and the priority would be to develop those three as much as possible. And then there was Kobe, who stuck out like a sore thumb on this roster. With his contract expiring at the end of 2016, many expected that sometime during training camp he would announce that this season was going to be his last, and that he would get a retirement tour similar to what Derek Jeter got in baseball a few years prior. But the announcement never came. At Media Day, he said he didn't know what his future entailed, but we knew his contract was going to be up no matter what. So maybe if he could put together a full and healthy year, he would stick around and serve as a mentor to the new Lakers core as they progress. But it was quickly apparent that this team had no place for an aging veteran with limited time left. Due to them being so poorly coached and inexperienced, it made Kobe's decline so much more visible for everyone to see. It was like we were back in 2006 where he had a piss poor roster who needed him to save the day, but after a decade's worth of miles and multiple severe injuries, he was in quite simply no position to carry a team. It was apparent in the team record and Kobe's stats, as both were historically bad. Through the first 15 games of the season, the Lakers were just 2-13, and Kobe was putting up 15 points a night on some of the worst shooting splits you'll ever see. It's not like the year prior when he was still putting up solid numbers in an inefficient manner. He clearly had nothing left and was no longer a quality NBA player. It was so bad that he only shot above 40% from the field twice during this stretch. The writing was clearly on the wall, and if he could no longer contribute on the court, there was no reason for him to stick around on a team that was years away from sniffing the playoffs again. So on November 29th, he announced in the Players Tribune that he would be retiring at the end of the season. And once that announcement was made, the entire direction of the Lakers season changed. Instead of them trying to develop their young players and help them build habits that would lead to success further down the line, everything was about making Kobe's farewell tour as smooth as possible. So instead of giving the keys to the young guys, Kobe still winded up leading the team in shot attempts and took away chances from guys like Randall, Clarkson, and D'Lo. And I'm not blaming Kobe for this. His body was clearly broken down and had nothing left, but he was just trying to give the fans who came out to see him one last time whatever he had left in the tank. It was just an all-around crappy situation to be in if you're LA. And of course, we can't cover the 2016 Lakers season without addressing the D'Angelo Russell snitching situation. So towards the end of March, a video was leaked to the public where D'Lo was secretly recording his conversation with Nick Young while he was talking about the times he's cheated on his then fiancée Iggy Azalea. This understandably resulted in Laker teammates shunning him out of the locker room and icing him out of the offense. So not only was the season a wash due to Kobe's farewell tour, but now one of their young franchise cornerstones had a horrible reputation around the league due to off-the-court issues. It was really the last thing you wanted to see if you were a Lakers fan. That was really the only other significant moment of 2016, besides of course Kobe's last game where he scored 60. But like I said in the beginning of the video, we're here to focus on what happened leading up to that moment. And before that amazing game, the Lakers were 16-65 and were by far the worst team in the Western Conference. It's a good thing that Kobe bailed the Lakers out with one final great memory at the end of the year, because it helps fans forget the fact that 2016 was the worst in franchise history. And once the Kobe Bryant era ended, they finally fully entered the rebuild, stockpiled young assets, signed LeBron, traded for AD, and eventually won a championship. So the team did right their wrongs quickly after hitting rock bottom, but I don't know if we'll ever see worse NBA basketball than we did with the Lakers during Kobe's final 3 years. And that's all I have for you guys today. Let me know in the comments what you remember from this era, subscribe for more, and I'll see you guys in the next video.